Hello and welcome to the Film Ireland podcast celebrating filmmaking, storytelling and cinema across the island of Ireland. Today we catch up with two talented filmmakers, Julia Dahmen and Sarah Beeby. Their shorts are going to be screening at Gaze International LGBTQIA Film Festival, which runs in Dublin until the 4th of August. But first we chat with Alba Fernandez about the Queer Talent Database, which will be launched at the festival on August 4th and goes live at 12:30 that day. So thanks so much for chatting with us.
Thanks for having me.
So you have been very, very, very busy. I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit about the Queer Talent Database.
So the Queer Time database is literally just that, a directory I decided to create in the past year to help queer filmmakers find other queer filmmakers, but with a view for them finding some below the line people. I feel like we know a lot about queer directors, queer writers, and queer producers, but a lot of people don't know that there's a lot of queer people working in camera. Like, and me being a DOP myself, I just know so many of them. And over the past years, I've just been asked so much. Do you know so and so is queer? Do you know if a sound designer is queer? So I've just kind of compiled it all into this website so people can go browsing for queer talent to crew up their films more authentically, like their queer films more authentically, or just connect with each other to kind of make more queer art in general.
What has been the process like of doing this? So, like, I presume it started as a bunch of discussions.
Not really. It kind of did and it kind of didn't. So the way it started, like, I suppose it started like a couple of years ago in a Galway Film Flat panel. I was invited by the National Talent Academy to just sit in it and talk about my experience being a queer woman in camera. But someone in the audience was like, "Oh, I've never been able to find queer crew below the line," and I just went, "I have an Excel sheet of all these people that I know. I just." I have all their contacts. I know who's out. I know who's proudly out and, like, safely out. And from there, I ended up in the Out of Frame Cork Film Festival last year, and someone went, "Why don't I have that Excel sheet?" And I kind of realized that that was a little bit unsafe to have an Excel sheet floating around with people's details. It was sheer, like, not, I don't want to say inspired, but it's more, I just wanted to get it done. I wanted people to connect with each other, and I wanted the community I'm so proudly part of to connect with each other. So I just went home after Out of Frame and spent a couple of days making up this beta, really, really shitty looking site, and asked a couple of friends if they'd be happy listing their details on it. And they're the 9 friends that are currently listed on the website when we launch next Monday. So it just kind of came out of frustration that no one was doing something about this, and knowing so many people along the line that do deserve that representation. And yeah, as I said, over the space of 2 or 3 nights, I made up this fake website.
And when did the National Talent Academies come on board?
I think I got in touch with them about the end of last year, so the end of 2024, and I had a really lovely set of chats with Eve over the course of the next couple of weeks. And she was just like all for it. She was like, absolutely. Like, she was the one that suggested having a login. She was the one that suggested, having all this like saved GDPR surrounding all of us that are now listed on it. But she was just like, from the get-go, she was like, yeah, of course, let's do it. Like, we will support you all the way. And I'd just done Stargaze as well. I was in the middle of my mentorship with Kate McCullough through the Stargaze program. And I talked to Kate about it, and I think I was talking to Sam about it, talking to Evan about it in Gaze, and it kind of just, it feels a bit serendipitous because it kind of became a thing of like, why don't we launch it at Gaze this year, which is the perfect, place to do it.
We love a deadline.
Yeah, I mean, it made me work. Yeah, it made me work.
If I wanted to sign up for this after the launch, what would that process look like?
So it's just like a normal website. Just as you go into, as you log into your Instagram or your Facebook, you are asked to create an account. So you're not able to browse unless you create an account. Whether you're a straight ally or whether you're a queer person, you do have to create an account beforehand. So once you do that, you're able to browse through all of the different departments. So you can look at all crew in one go, or you can say, well, I'm looking for an editor. I'm going to go to the post-production tab. I'm looking to connect with other directors. I'm going to go to the directory tab. So the way it looks then, you just get the headshots of everyone that's listed and all of their details. So you can just click out. It's not necessarily their profiles live there. It's just their information lives in the website. So if you're looking for, Alba Fernandez's website, you'll go to my headshot, and below my headshot, you'll have my Instagram link, my IMDb link, my email, and my website. So it's whatever people want to share as well. Some people don't have websites, some people don't have IMDb's, but they do, Instagram's such a useful tool to connect these days that you can still do that. You can still find those details.
And if I was a producer looking to crew up, I create an account saying I'm a straight ally, I'm looking to crew up. Just like, would I then be able to browse normally, see people's information?
That's right. Yeah. So like it's not necessarily like a job call out type website. As I said, it's just a directory that will send you to that person's, information. So if you're a producer, you'll create an account, you start browsing, you go, I really like the look of Jacob Bayersky, who's a Steadicam operator. I'm going to click on his website, or I'm going to click on his email, and that's how you'd start crewing up.
So the site goes, is the site live now? Can anyone kind of check it out, or is it when?
The site is private at the moment. We're just working on a couple of like little bugs with certain buttons and that. I've sent it to Evan, Sam, and Eve yesterday, but I do think we're quite close. I feel like it'll probably go live on the Monday, just so everyone's on the same page. So next Monday at the Lighthouse 3, I think we're doing it on that screen. We'll be chatting, myself, Hiram, and Danilo, who are close collaborators who have been so involved in this process. We'll be chatting about the importance of having a database like this and just kind of what it took to get it here. There will be a QR code behind us, a really, really big QR code, so people can sign up as we're chatting. And I'm going to just paper over the entire lighthouse with more QR codes so people can come to us, chat about it at the networking event right after. So if anyone has any questions, or anyone has any doubts, or anything they want to know, or anything they want to add, any sort of feedback, I'll be there, and I'll happily take all that on board.
And in terms of sort of signups and your own network, everything you just spreadsheet, do you feel that like there's a lot of people maybe that just aren't as visible, especially if it's in those crew roles? It's like it's a lot of word of mouth.
I think so. That's something I chatted to Sam or heard about, and Eve as well. It was that idea of I'll work with someone for a week, and then I'll find out they're part of the queer community. And it's not something that we kept secret, but it's something that maybe just doesn't come up in the sort of roles we're in, like DOPing specifically, or cameras. So it's specifically like cis white male, like all of those kind of guys. So it's not, sometimes it's not safe, or sometimes it just doesn't come up in conversation. And then I find out that someone's queer at the end of a shoot, and I go, oh God, like there's just this level of connection that I've missed with you because I didn't know this about you, or like there's this level of safety, or just kind of I have your back, you have my back, it really does open this extra door. And I think, yeah, being below the line, I've just seen so many more people that aren't necessarily, platformed publicly, like as much as directors, writers, and producers would be.
In terms of crewing up, what do you think would be particularly helpful in doing? So like if I'm an international producer, I'm coming in, I don't know anyone in Ireland, but like that I'm maybe working with young kids and I want them to feel comfortable. Can you see specific types of projects really benefiting from this?
I think so. I think there's, yeah, like you mentioned the like kids or young teenagers that might just be coming out, or like, thinking about their self-expression, whether gender or sexuality wise. It might be helpful to see a queer woman, or like a lesbian, behind the camera. Do you know what I mean? And like that might empower them a little bit. It's also, when we talk about like safety and creating, it doesn't necessarily mean that we're, bashed anytime we make a queer film, but there is an extra level of connection. I've just come off an entirely queer crew shoot, and that was, I just feel like we were all on the same page. We all knew we're talking about we could just socialize as well as work, and we came out of that shoot just quite fulfilled with the job we had done, and just fulfilled with the new kind of connections we had made, um, queerness wise. So I think, yeah, I think what I would hope for this database to do is it'll empower a new generation of filmmakers, of queer filmmakers, to just continue not just being themselves, but creating whatever they want to create, whether it's a queer film or not. But just to let them know we're here, so you can still be here as well. And then, yeah, just like improve queer connection within the industry and improve inclusivity as well.
Yeah. And let's say I'm just graduated from college. I don't have a huge amount of experience, but I really want to get involved with the community and the filmmaking community. Would you welcome people with not a huge amount of experience, or is it for professionals only?
I'm not sure. I think that's something that we're going to find out as the database grows. I'm always of the mind of, every second I get is usually someone that's learning and kind of stepping up. So I always make that request for producers to get someone that's, diverse or a part of a minority. And that's my own personal opinion. If the database does grow to, someone coming out of college saying, I just want to shoot gay films. I just want to, connect with a gay DOP. I want to chat to you about something, then that's the way the database has to go. You know what I mean? I think for now I'm quite open to seeing how this develops. So I don't want to like start this and immediately shut people out either. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And in terms of plans, like, is this the first stage and you have plans to expand it in another area? Are you going to see how this plays out?
I think I want to see it how it plays out, but I remember saying to Eve, I hope it gets so big that I can't volunteer for it anymore. I hope that it gets so big that, you know, big productions like Apple or Disney coming over here look to the database for their diversity requirements. You know what I mean? So I'm currently the sole volunteer, and I'm delighted about that as the founder of it as well. But yeah, I generally hope that I just get swamped basically. Then I have to give that to somebody else or leave that with the National Talent Academy, and this is a resource that lives on and just evolves as the community needs it.
But it sounds really, really wonderful. And is there anything else maybe that might be a nice takeaway? Or if I just say I maybe was a producer working on a project and I had a queer character and I was thinking about, like having more representation on set, this would be something that I could just tap into and hire people.
Absolutely. I mean, we all know the story of Phoebe Waller-Bridge joining the 007, like, what is it, writing team to give it more diversity and more inclusivity and representation, like female wise. So there's nothing stopping a producer from connecting with a queer director or a queer writer listed on the website and saying, I want to engage you, I want to hire you, and I want to, just make my film a little bit better, a little bit more authentic with your voice. So absolutely, this is what we're here for. Like, us existing is already inclusivity, and us being part of these projects is representation as well.
And I'd be very curious further down the line if there were areas as well that were sort of under tapped that we didn't know. Oh, like actually there's such a big community in those particular roles or in that particular department. Has there been anything like that that you've just noticed from being on set?
I mean, I noticed a lot of queer people on set and a lot of queer people in technical roles, and just how we've had to work 150% to be there. You know what I mean? And like sometimes it's funny. I had a friend recently tell me that the biggest part of my identity isn't being gay, it's being a DOP. You know what I mean? But like I would feel that they go hand in hand. And again, like I think it's something that trickles down. Like we'll probably start seeing more queer people enter the industry in technical roles. We'll see more people be open about their queerness on sets, especially in the regions as well. I know a couple of queer people that can't come out because of the spaces they're involved in the regions. So it's just kind of to bring up the entire country to the same level of, again, inclusivity and representation. That would be great. But again, whatever way this project evolves, I'm going to be very glad to see it.
Brilliant. Well, we can't wait to see it. We'll be around for the launch. We will definitely share it. And congratulations. I can't wait to see the films get made as a result of this.
Thank you so much, Gemma.
So now we are delighted to talk with Julia Dahmen and Sarah Beeby about their film Somewhere Between You and Me and Gardening. Okay, so thank you guys so much for chatting with us.
Yeah, thank you for having us. I'm just going to introduce myself. I'm Julia, and I made a lovely short film about basically about an emotional exploration of growing up biracial and I guess living between two cultures. And my short film is called Somewhere Between You and Me. And I think the narrative focus mostly is the relationship between a mother and a daughter, and like them kind of overcoming cultural and linguistic like barriers. And if we come down to the plot, it's basically about like a young queer who's in for a shock when her date night is interrupted by the unannounced visit of her recently divorced mother. And basically, over the course of a weekend, cultures clash. They struggle to communicate and like balance each other's demands. And yeah, it's a fun little short.
You packed so much into it narratively, and it's so beautiful.
Yeah, I think what's also crazy, like exactly a year ago we were filming it, so it was definitely it's not so long ago, and for me it was really important to kind of keep the plot net like very simple, so I could like pack it with more like cultural like metaphors and like other things, because I think that's how I can also resonate with it the most when I look at my life.
And those bonding rituals. Okay, I'm going to go into the description of where it came from and yourselves in a little bit more first. But actually, Sarah, so tell me about your brilliant film.
Well, thank you. Yeah, your short sounds great, Julia. I can't wait to see that. Yeah, so my name's Sarah Beeby, and I directed a short animation called Gardening, and it's about the relationship between healing and justice. But it's set in the mind garden of the main protagonist. So you get to see the external world and the internal world play out on screen at the same time. And we see her journey through the beginning of the film, when her garden is like beautiful and she's in love, she's in this queer relationship. And then she experiences an assault, and then it's about her quest for justice after that.
That's really, really powerful. And the visuals are so striking as well. I was wondering, Sarah, if you could tell me a little bit more about your journey in film and in animation. How did you start off? When did you realize you loved it?
It's a funny story actually, because I actually studied fine art, and when I was studying fine art, I kept being kind of drawn to animation, and then everyone around me was like, "Well, don't try that. It's really, really hard work." So I didn't try it for a long time, and then I just kind of couldn't keep away. And I eventually did try it, and I was like, this is so much fun. I can make films like with just me. I don't need to kind of involve a whole crew. So when I graduated from my undergraduate, I went and did a master's at the Royal College of Art and learned how to animate, and that was an incredible experience. And then I graduated from there and worked in commercials in London for a while. And then I went to California, and I was a professor of animation there for a while, and also worked at some of the big streamers. And then I came back to Britain and made this film, and I'm now living in Cornwall and teaching at Falmouth Art School and working on my own stuff. And that's my career in about 5 minutes.
That was a really quick summary of a biography. That is so concise, because there's so much there.
It's flown by the last 15 years.
And well, what is it about animation that you think, or like that is like key to storytelling? Because there's something to be said about visual art, but in that moving image and how that conveys a story and an energy and emotion.
Yeah, that's a really great question. Animation is obviously very distinct to live action in that it has the prerogative to tell stories that live action can't tell. So with my film, I really wanted to be able to visualize the emotional world of the characters on screen and be able to show kind of the things that are less tangible through animation, using metaphor and symbolism and bringing to life plants and flowers. And I think it's really important for animation to do that and to play with not just the imagery that can be brought to life, but also the way that things move that they can't move in real life as well, using live action. So often in my teaching, I kind of talk about like the design style and then the animation style. And I think both of those two things need to work together to bring something new to the worlds that you're creating in animation.
So, and it is, I think there's also something about approaching a subject matter from that different angle. Like, it is such a true like sexual violence and the fallout of that, but seeing it in the way that we would normally watch fairy tales is particularly jarring. And to see, like, you know, those metaphors so closely aligned, there's like, as a viewer, there's something like it's almost disarming in the beginning, but then when you're taken on that journey, there's something about processing the pain of it that is really interesting to watch as a viewer.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I suppose animation is quite often used to make more difficult subjects more approachable. And like it's used planes for flight videos and things like that. And I think with this film, I didn't want to shy away from the difficulty of the subject matter, but I did definitely want to create a world through animation and through the use of the plant metaphor that was more accessible for the audience, because this is a film for survivors. And so I didn't want it to be something that would be too re-traumatizing, but I still wanted it to be something that could be honest. So yeah, thank you for bringing that up. It's a great point.
It's beautiful. And Julia, yourself and your journey, your space into film.
So my journey actually started, I think, when I was like 18, because I saved all the money I had so I could go travel for like a year and a half, and like I had nothing really to do with like filming or like photography. And there I got like a little camera, and I've really fell in love with, I don't know, just the people around me. I think I really learned to value like a lot of people's stories. And I don't know, when I met new people, like whatever they told me about their life really inspired me. And I think feeling understood is something at the core of my intrinsic motivation to go into film as well, because that's, I guess, what connects us all, right? And so I studied media in Amsterdam, but it was very theoretical, so I was a little bit bothered by it. So for that, I just started teaching myself filming, and just like for YouTube, because I just felt like, as what you said, Sarah, like I can make films. It's possible. Like we don't have to have 30 people on set to make movies that touch and move people. So after that, I was working also in advertisement for like as an editor for like 2 years. And then I moved to Berlin to pursue directing. And I just finished that. I finished directing last year, and my film is my graduation film. And ever since then, I don't know, I just fell in love with the collaborative effort.
Sounds like you were kind of brought in by a curiosity of people. Do you think there's a catharsis to the type of stories you want to tell?
100%. I think up until like a few years ago, I never really thought about also my cultural upbringing and me being German Chinese. It was just a fact. Like, I mean, of course, I had a different, like I have an intersectional identity, also me being queer. But I think like a few years ago, my directing teacher asked me, like, you always have to ask yourself, why me and why now? And I realized, yeah, like the story I could tell best is a story that I resonate with most, of course. Like, and then I dig deeper into my personal life, and I realized, oh, like if you're being really specific about an experience, like it can be a universal experience for others, like even though they have a different background. And that's what I felt like also when I showed the movie to like in theater. Like people were crying, people were laughing, and they're so different to me, and yet I found a way to kind of encapsulate that experience of like being the daughter of an immigrant.
And what I thought was so beautiful as well, but I like about that film is like, yeah, how deft it is, but how authentic the performances are in terms of casting this and getting those performances from your actors. What, like, are you looking for something specifically when you see the words on the page then? Or is it part of the process of finding it?
For me, the most important thing was to find someone that can also resonate with the story on a personal level, because there are certain things that you just can't of course you can act them, but do you feel them? Like, do you know what it feels? To, I guess, also, growing up speaking having a different mother tongue than your mother. Like, I think that's something that has shaped my life a lot. So I was on the search for my protagonist, Mylin, who also has that personal experience. And the mother, played by Yishi, she's been an actress for many years in Germany, but she's always played a Vietnamese mother, basically, even though she's Chinese, and it's her first time this woman is over 60 and super talented, and it's her first time playing an authentic Chinese mom that's who she is as well. So I think I was very rewarded with like trusting that. And we had like a few acting exercises where they would like sit in front of each other and they would both cry because they saw, hey, I see my mother here and I see my child here. And then I was also there crying because I was like, this is my family.
It's like that ritual, and there's a quiet just authenticity to it that when you're watching it, it is so moving. I'm very interested, actually. I've gone even too far into the process, but I'd love to take it back that actually both of you have worked with a writer. So you're and Julia, just while we're chatting about your film, I was wondering, can you talk to me about what that process is like? About working with a writer in creating the story for the film.
That was a really fun and cool experience. So I work with a Czech Irish writer, and she's really brilliant and talented. And I think we also always knew, even though we come from really different backgrounds, like she's Czech Irish, but then was living in Germany and then moved to Ireland, like to Dublin as well when she was older. And we always talked about how difficult sometimes it is to be one thing or another when you like meet new people. Like, what do you say where you're from? So we always kind of understood each other in that sense. I mean, not specifically like her being German Chinese, of course, but I think from there on we had like a mutual understanding of like this like cultural displacement and living in the in-between. And the first time we met, I brought a notebook and I wrote a lot of like scenarios down that I was in with my mother, like really weird, funny situations, like being at the dentist and my mom is like bargaining while I'm like sitting on the chair, and we were sharing different stories. So we were really working like really close together. So the story was like mostly mine, but like she wrote the screenplay.
And I saw her name, and that was a lovely surprise then. And working in terms of getting drafts together and, coming up with like you then starting your visual journey for the film, like, is this something where do you guys have big conversations, then she goes and writes a draft? Or do you like sit in a room and kind of figure things out, go back, do a bit of work independently? Like technically, how does your process work?
Yeah, so technically, it started with the notebook. I think that was like the blueprint of like we wanted to base it on real life like stories that have happened. And then from there on, we wanted to fictionalize it, of course, as well, because it's hard to completely direct a story that's completely your life as well.
Oh, people don't like it. They don't like it at all.
Yeah, and I think actually that was like really good for me to work with Makeda, because she, like, we had that as a blueprint, but like I also left her a lot of room to develop like fictionalized characters that like differ from like my personal life, of course, because I thought I needed a little bit of a of a distance as well to be able to tell the story like properly. So we would like go back and forth about drafts, and like after the initial meeting about setting the blueprint, we would just exchanging ideas. So she would send me a draft, I would like write down my notes, we would like engage in discussions about like with that character, what is that character like I developed the characters mostly, and like she put her own spin on it. And also she knew, like, we also friends, so she's always known a little bit about my crazy family. So I feel like she definitely put her own spin. And it's beautiful, you know, to trust someone in that process. I think it can really contribute so much if you're willing to let go a little bit and not control everything.
Because it's very, they're like especially like projects that are so personal, they're so intimate that it is like there's a level of trust and understanding that, like, and communication that does need to be there. And Sarah, I was wondering if you could talk to me as well about that, about it, writing or about working on this project. And did the script come to you finished? Did you do work on it, or was it about visualizing it when it came to?
Yeah, so this was a film that took 10 years to make, and it started off as a animated documentary, which was just me going around interviewing people about sex and power originally, and the relationships between sex and power. And then I had all this archival footage, or like audio interviews rather. And then while I was trying to figure out what to do with all of this, all these interviews, I was assaulted, and then I realized that I couldn't continue to make a film that was kind of broadly about sex and power without addressing this. And then I also realized that I didn't want to make a straightforward documentary, so I decided to build. I read Emily Nagoski's "Come as You Are," and that uses this metaphor of an inner garden, and I decided to build the narrative around that. But it was really hard because I was like simultaneously trying to figure out my own stuff and then also the film. So I think that's when I started working with BFI, and they were like, I think you should work with a writer. So I found Louisa, who was the best possible person I could ever have worked with. She's the best writer and human in general. And we also worked with a script supervisor with the support of the BFI, and kind of bit by bit managed to figure out how to build the world and how to build the story. And similar to Julia, kind of sort of based on mostly on my life story, but not 100% in every single instance. So yeah, eventually it became clear what the story was going to be.
It's because that's really, really powerful. And just, I am a writer myself, so I know it can take a while before you're ready, like, to address the subject or be able to see it and process it. Did you like take the time, or was that distance what you needed to be able to work on it?
It was really a magical, wonderful. It sounds weird to say this, but I feel so healed through the process of making this film. And it was difficult when I was kind of in the trenches, especially because we're sort of talking about my life story and script meetings with me as a third person. Yeah, it was difficult at the time because I had like some multiple meta layers of existence through the film and in my real life, and analysis and understanding. But I'm very glad that I did it, and hopefully yeah, the kind of research that I did around restorative justice and communication and all kinds of things was really valuable, and hopefully can be valuable to other people as well if they watch the film.
Yeah, it is. I think it is like as a viewer, there's a catharsis in it. There's it does feel very truthful, very authentic, and you can feel the stages, like the rage and the pain, and like that kind of move towards healing and stuff. Like it's very like you're taken on a journey for like it's so beautiful. Like I would say if people don't get to see it, like it is one to watch, because that and how visually it is represented. It's just like it is gorgeous. But but creating with the writer in a practical sense, then, like, you're in meetings, you're imagining the world. How do you convey those ideas back? And like, are you sharing drawings? Are you having long talks there?
I did have some existing artwork which helped. And I would send Louisa, I'd have ideas about how the world would work, and I'd send her some diagrams. But I think I think what happened was I had an outline of the script that was based on these audio interviews and also based on my experiences, and I passed it over to her. And then she did an outline from my script, and then she would send it to me, and then I would give her notes, and then the BFI would give notes, and then we'd all go. It's kind of like this circular motion round and round. It was very complicated for a very long time because this was also through COVID. So yeah, it was incredibly exciting, but like there was no straight line sort of. There was a bit of a mishmash of whatever works and kind of inching towards clarity for a while.
And when okay, so like that sounds like a lot of world building. When does the practical animation stuff start? When are you kind of doing it before the script is finished, when you kind of know it is in a shape, like, or is it very formal?
It was a pretty formal animation process in that we had the script and we had that signed off, and then we did a whole load of story revisions on what's called an animatic, which is like a moving storyboard. And I actually worked with the DP at that point as well, because I needed to figure out some, trying to imagine where to put the camera in this world that is fabricated and also doesn't always have perfect perspective, was sometimes a bit of a challenge. And so yeah, we had more visions of the animatic, and the other thing that was happening was the film was like 20 minutes and it was like 8 minutes and then it was like 15 minutes, and eventually we had to put a line in the sand and say, this is the cut of the animatic that we're going with. We need to start animating. And then pretty much after that point, the length of the shots that were in the animatic, sorry, this is a bit technical.
It's exactly the right people first. We're all filmmakers. We're like, oh yeah, tell me more.
Yeah, so once we had the animatic, we just replaced the animatic with finished animation and then with colored animation, and it didn't really change that much after that point in terms of the edit and the story.
And at what stages do the voice actors come in? Like, are you still finishing the animation when they're there?
We did the voice acting before animation started because not everybody does this, but I find it more comfortable to animate to the performances. And so I had an incredible day with Ivana Lynch and Freddie Fox and Sharon McBurney and like this amazing cast that we were able to get, kind of just workshopping the dialogue. And we did change a couple of lines as well. Louisa was there. And yeah, and then the animators were inspired by those performances and could lip sync to the performances then on.
Brilliant. And then in terms of from like each stage of that process, roughly how long would it take? So from script development stage and then through from beginning level, like starting the animation to it being finished?
Okay, so I think that we spent about 2 years developing the script, not full time, and over COVID. So, that was slightly protracted.
And what type of funding scheme is that? Like, it didn't come. Obviously, they're not like this is a deadline. Is it like a development scheme as much as it? Yeah. Okay. Grant.
Yeah. So we got the BFI development fund, and then we got the production fund. So once we'd done with the development fund, we had to apply again for production funding. And when we applied for production funding, we had the finished script and a bunch of concept art and some animation tests. And then when we started production, I think it was full time for about 2 years, something like that. And then we mixed in March 2024 and premiered at Events in August 2024. Yeah.
Wow. Like something that's so kind of grounded in that script and in that story first before you get into the process. There was probably no moments of shock or surprise along the way. Was it like a graduated thing, or was there anything maybe that threw itself up as a little surprise?
Well, not really. Once we started animating, it was pretty much just go, like, get it done, make it look good, make it sound good. I guess the biggest, most exciting things for me after the story was done was because we had done a lot of the kind of conceptual heavy lifting. It was just bringing it to life by that point. So it wasn't necessarily like surprises in terms of the film changing shape, but it was getting finished animation back, and like what the animators brought and what the composer brought, and all of those things that kind of really elevate a film. That was not necessarily a surprise, but just an exciting phase of kind of finishing up the film. And then even in the mix, stuff happened that was, I mean, obviously all the way through, things are just coming in, and it's exciting, but no huge changes, no, or surprises.
And then, okay, so I might say to you, Julia, just because we're on the term of production, it's a very different process. So you had been like editing and directing, and this would have been the biggest thing that you directed so far in your career as your graduation film. And how was that process, like kind of stepping up to that? Did you like really get to enjoy getting your hands on something so tangible and meaty?
Yeah, definitely. It was, I mean, I think also first like creating a little bit of distance to something relatively personal. I think that has like definitely helped me to really be a good director for this movie. Because I felt otherwise you can't really make decisions that are good for the movie if you're too attached to it. I think there has to be a good balance. I think, Sarah, you probably know what I'm talking about, you know? But I had a great team around me. I think that's something that is so beautiful about filmmaking in general. Just feeling the support from everyone, and like my entire crew was like, we're internationals as well. We shot in Berlin, but
And this
yeah.
was through the program, is it? Or like was this stuff that you guys would have fundraised?
Yeah, basically. So it was just like the final graduation film. We're pretty much free as to how to do it. We didn't get any funding from the school itself, so I actually funded it myself. Because I was working before and stuff. I didn't do any fundraising, to be honest. I don't know why. I think I felt a little bit like I really wanted this to come truly from myself, and I didn't want to. I don't know. I was kind of against fundraising because I also felt like, oh, there are other stories, and I kind of I just want to do it myself.
But it was the production quality was so high. Like that's the reason I'm sort of like just like I was like, how is it so high? It's like it doesn't feel like a student film, basically. It's just gorgeous. The grading is
Thank
gorgeous.
you. No, I think I'm a director that cares a lot about technicalities because I film myself and have this editing background. So I always feel like it's good as a director to also know how camera works and which lenses, because in the storyboarding for me, I was really, really already set on which lenses do we take. When do we distort moments? When there's like a moment in the film where the protagonist feels a little bit alienated by like a German man who calls her really pretty for a Chinese woman, and it's like really backhanded compliments, and it's not really on the nose. It's sometimes, when people tell you, oh, like I've heard that, like, ooh, I usually one day Chinese people, but like you're different, and to them it feels like a compliment, but really it isn't. And I didn't like in the situation in the film, I didn't want to be in your face. I think this is weird, but I wanted the audience to feel through the composition that it's weird. So we used 40mm angles, like a lens, to have like the protagonist a little bit weirdly centered in the frame. So you just knew it was like, why do I feel so trapped? Why does it feel so weird? So I think in the pre-production process, like thinking about these angles, thinking about technical choices was really important to me, because I think you can say so much in like through these like layers. So without words, I think that was really important to me.
And it's beautifully captured. I'm just wondering then about screening it at like sharing that film, because it feels so intimate. That what is it like sitting in an audience watching it? And watching it?
I think everything you love, you care about a lot, and then you're like cringing a bit. I don't know. I think everyone that's like creative is a little bit like a perfectionist, of course, but I guess just like seeing, so we screened it at the graduation, of course, and it also is going to screen at other festivals, but like Gaze Film Festival is like basically its world premiere, which is really cool. I'm really excited. And I, on the day of graduation, also showed it to my family, my mother and my siblings, and they were the ones that were laughing the loudest. It was so funny. And that felt honestly really special. I think that's like the cherry, right? Like being able to show something you love, even though sometimes you're like, but yeah, no, I'm really happy.
I think you'll enjoy seeing it in the cinema with people. I'd say get some chairs. I'll put money on it. I'll put a $5 down now.
Okay, I'm down for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Sarah, yours as well is so moving and powerful, but healing. Is that an experience to be in an audience? Like it is such a, you can kind of sometimes feel the emotion from other people when it's everyone's watching something at the same time. Have you sat in an audience and watched it with people?
I have, and I found it quite difficult to read the room. There's always been some kind of an atmosphere, but I don't really know what it is. I think the nicest response has been at the queer screening at Kaboom Animation Festival, actually in the Netherlands, because at the end of that screening, it wasn't just to do with my film, but it was the first time that I've ever been in a screening where it finished and everyone went, oh. So it was nice to be part of that, but I can't really get a read on what the response to my film has been.
Or has anyone reached out and said it?
Yes, I have had a lot of people reach out to me and on Instagram and say that they really enjoyed it, and that's really, really lovely to hear. Yeah.
I'll reach out. I'll say I also really enjoyed it. I was also very kind of moved, and it kind of slaps you a little bit because you're not expecting it. You know, you sit down and watch it, you're like, this is so much more. But there's such a healing and a hope to it. And there's like just this kind of profound empathy behind it as well. But I suppose, probably like a trigger warning as well if people aren't ready to process things that it exists. But I just thought it was just incredible.
Yeah, I think one of my friends came to see it in London and used the phrase radical responsibility. And I think that there is a reading of it where it can be seen as being very empathetic to people who commit crimes or violence against women, but that's not really my angle. It's more we're being failed right, left, and centered by the existing justice systems, and we hear stories more and more every day about how justice in England at the moment, I can't speak to other countries, but certainly England and America is just not really working. And I actually had this quote written down I saw earlier on today by this politician in the UK called Alex Davies Jones, who said that we're actually making better criminals, not better citizens through the justice system. So it's more about that. And so in the world where that's where we're living, what can you do to take back control, to take back power over your body and your own healing journey? And so my film is about not having to rely on someone else and having the power to stand up to someone and say what you did is wrong.
Yeah, but it's beautiful. There's a film here in Ireland called The Meeting, and it's about restorative justice as well. And it is that, because I think everyone's instinct is like, oh, you're just so angry. I was like, no, but there's like healing on all sides that like to process everything that I think this looks at, and how nothing is created in a vacuum as well. That this is all a symptom of a bigger issue that society faces and it captures that nuance in many ways. Like there's a lot more people being failed like across the line, across the board. And I just think, but that's the thing where I was like, it does it in such a beautiful way. You're on the journey and then you're like, oh wow. But yeah, I can really I could see it being a very important piece for discussion further down the line. Like, do you have any plans for it when it's finished its festival run?
I hope so. Yeah, I would like to do workshops, and I have had some kind of preliminary conversations with non-profit organizations. I just need to find a safe and structure for that to happen. But yeah, absolutely, I'd love to do some community engagement work with this.
Amazing. And oh, thank you so much for giving your. This is so much. It's so much more to say. I actually have three questions that I skipped, but I was just wondering, do you guys have any questions for each other?
But I think just from listening to you, I feel really proud of you, to be honest. But honestly, I think making a film is a marathon for sure. Like you gotta find ways to keep going, and I think there are always times where like it's not always easy, but it's like I think that this intrinsic motivation to tell the story and like also in order to help others, I think is really beautiful. And I think especially once you like have workshops and stuff, I think you can really support someone else through that, and I think that will definitely have a great resonance with others. So I'm really happy to. I think it's beautiful. I think it's also very present, as we know, like how like violence against like queer people, women, like it's not really getting better, so we have to talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah, and likewise with your film, what kind of a genre would you say your film is?
I think it's a dramedy. Because
Yeah.
I think there's definitely elements of drama in it, but I think I always love to have like a little lightheartedness to it, because I think that's how you can convey these topics the best.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it sounds amazing from what you said. And I think earlier I was thinking, when you were talking about it, I mean, obviously it's very unique to your experiences, but I think it sounds like maybe there's an underlying universal theme of like wanting to be accepted, and like your relationship with your parents that is really relatable to everyone. So I can see it doing really well.
100%. That's why I called it Somewhere Between You and Me as well. Like initially it was called different, because I think Somewhere Between You and Me is like a metaphor. It doesn't mean literally you and me. It means me and my different identities, me and myself, me and others, me and my all sorts of things. Yeah.
And I thought it's so empathetic that you have your mum's, or the mum, I shouldn't say your mum, it is different, but mum, your film's mum, that like that her arc is explored, and her, like, it is just that beat of two people like struggling in different quieter ways, and their arcs coming together, and as a result of that, healing in some small way because of that connection. And I think that is just something that's very kind, but it's subtle. Like it's it's all under the dialogue. It's all there in the physical actions of the making of the food and the sharing. Like it's really, really lovely done. But thank you guys so much. I hope you enjoy your gaze screenings and experience, and probably get loads of people reaching out on Instagram now to say the same. And congratulations on two such beautiful films.
Thank you.
So make sure to check out the festival lineup and get your tickets now at gaze.ie. And don't forget to subscribe to Film Ireland wherever you get your podcasts from.